Roberto, good morning. Good morning, Philip, Gene, Federico. Roberto, is that you? Like, are you a real human over there?
No, it's
Like,
just
raise your hand, raise your right hand, and like then put up 3 fingers or something. I want to make sure, you got a team of developers working on AI. I want to make sure you're not like, creating a Roberto that just shows up on webinars for me now. Because I will tell you guys, Federico, welcome. Adine, Allison, listen, we're going to dive in and talk about AI. We're hearing it everywhere, right? Everybody's talking about it. We're going to do a couple of things today, you guys. We're going to kind of share some of the places that we're seeing AI starting to make an impact in real estate, Roberto. Just some of the different kind of main verticals of real estate where we're seeing AI start to come to life. Then we're going to share with you guys some actual tools, like specific tools that you guys could go and leverage today. And we're going to sprinkle in there some stuff that we're working on right now for AI for Brivity. And it's stuff that's actually like in play, Roberto. Some of our beta testers are using this stuff with prospects and inside of their CRM. So that's kind of how we're going to go about today. Now, Roberto Moreno, you guys can see on the state or on the screen here is the VP of AI product here at Place and Brivity. Roberto, do me a favor, like kind of introduce yourself to the audience, but do it in terms of a little bit of your background. Kevin, you just cannot get in on that other side. Kevin wants to keep joining us. That's okay, Kevin. We love you. Come on anytime you want. Roberto, kind of give me your background kind of as it relates to how you got here to working with us at Place and Brivity.
Sure. So started, we built the first, about 15 years ago, we built the first sort of IDX website provider up in Canada and continued to evolve that platform. And then probably about 5 years ago, AI started to become a thing. So we decided to start up a brand new company called Gabby AI. And the goal was to, help solve a lot of the problems that we were having with our customers, or that their customers were having in their real estate business when we were running the, website provider kind of company.
Okay, so when Ben partnered with you, when he said, "Hey, Roberto, we'd love to have you come over here and help us work on some of the cool things we're doing," you were already doing AI, but Roberto, it's not the AI that's kind of exploded onto the scene recently, right?
No, it was not. It was like sort of like now it was similar, but back then we didn't have a lot of the computer power or the computer power and the data to be able to do what we really wanted to do, right? The models and algorithms were there. We just didn't have enough compute power to be able to speed up the training of the AI. So we were sort of doing it, but not really. What we built in Gabby AI that took us about 6 months, we can replicate in about 2 to 3 days.
Yeah. Okay. So just real quick, like off the top, just AI, right? We're all hearing this. I think we all kind of have a gut feeling that we know what AI is, but I mean, what is this? Like, this is the dictionary definition of AI?
Yeah, this is the dictionary, but to summarize it, basically, it's a branch of computer science, right? It aims to create and mimic human intelligence, right? So the idea is that we want to be able to mimic human intelligence, and we utilize algorithms and data to do that. And, in the future, it's going to be able to learn, reason, and decide like humans, right?
Now, I think like human intelligence, I don't know, like historically over the course of time has been transferred via language. And so it makes a lot of sense that kind of the first versions of AI that are really transformative are around this concept of LLM, Roberto, which is large language models. What's a large language model, and why is that kind of the first thing, or which of these are the first things kind of busting on the scene?
Yeah, so we have a lot of different, large language models is one of them. There's definitely other ones like computer vision and other types of AI, but the large language model really took, center stage the last 2 years when Chat GPT kind of came in, and what it is it's we're processing a bunch of large text data to be able to write like a human, right? Just like So that's really what, why large language models kind of became very popular. ChatGPT came in, they were able to train their models with a bunch of internet data, whether, they allowed it or not. And, they were able to create a tool that allowed people to, be able to ask things and help it write things and do all sorts of things. So yeah, large language model, that's what we call large language models in the industry, is a, language that we're asking the computers to be able to learn.
I joked in the beginning here, Roberto, that like raise your hand and prove you're real. You've been on the I mean, look, it makes sense given what you do here at our company, but you've been on kind of the edge, the leading edge for me of having a couple of like holy shit moments, or like and one of them was you sent me recently of an audio recording that was me. And you had taken one of the tools, so I don't know, you've got a bunch of them, and you had like, I think, fed in or had it watch an hour of video of me, and then it basically learned how to speak like me and turned around and you made a video or an audio that like I played it for my wife, a few of my friends, and they were like, yeah, that definitely sounds like you, but I can tell it's not you. And all I could think in my head, Roberto, is, man, I sure hope the jury would think the same thing, right? Like, I mean, these models are getting to a point where I joke with our place partners all the time. I'm like, look, the thing we haven't been able to figure out yet is how for you to make the phone call to the lead, but seemingly we're not actually that far away from that even.
Yeah, like in the not in the large language model, but in the sort of music and voice and audio, man, that's also taking a pretty big leap. And we're able to clone voices. There's artists that are working with AI companies to create songs using their AI voice. So that's another part of AI, and that is also becoming pretty real. Being able to add emotion when we talk on these AIs is sort of, what's kind of happening. So when someone clones your voice, they'll be able to laugh if they type it in or those kind of things.
So we threw some here just to give you guys a sense of the scale and rapidness at which this is moving right now. So Roberto, it took 16 years for mobile to get to 100 million users. It took 2.5 years for Instagram to get there. It took 2 months for ChatGPT to get there. What's this generative AI? Like, I've seen this all over. In fact, I just saw an article yesterday that like Facebook and Google are in an arms race to hire developers, and they're paying ridiculous amounts of money to bring developers in around this like generative AI specialists. What is generative AI?
Sure.
What does that mean?
So generative AI is a combination of like text, image, and media models. It's what we kind of put all these things under, right? So large language models kind of fall into it, as well as like image creation falls into it, video generation falls into it. So it's kind of like what we call this, that's the term we use in the industry, right? Generative AI is sort of the top of the terms, and then there's a bunch of stuff underneath it.
All right, so just the point here, this stuff like immediately is taking hold in society, essentially, right? Yeah. Like its tentacles are long. People are leaning into this. Not that I'm a stock expert by any means, but a company like NVIDIA, which is powering this with the chips that they make. I forget what the name of the new chip is, where there's like literally a land rush on this new chip, Roberto, that NVIDIA makes, right?
GPUs.
Yeah. These
GPUs that NVIDIA makes, yeah.
That allow these companies to have this massive amount of processing power. So like in these large language models, they've essentially went out and scoured the entirety of the internet to see how, every piece of written word has ever been done, so that they can figure out how to respond to your next query. All right, let's get into real estate a little bit here. So we're gonna go through again a couple of the kind of verticals of real estate where either look, and there's some of this, Roberto, is like, man, we don't really have our hands on it yet, but it's coming soon. Some of this we have our hands on right now. Some of this we've had our hands on for a while, and companies are using it to varying effects for different things. So first one,
and some of these things too also like are maybe not like they're in the real estate space, but maybe not in the residential side. Maybe they're
being used by BlackRock, big institutional, or Blackstone, big institutional investors and things like that. So improved efficiency with chatbots and virtual assistants. I think it makes a lot of sense that we start with this one, because this was kind of the genesis for you of Gabby and what you set out to do. And your wife is a real estate agent up there in Canada, right? In Edmonton.
Generation.
And so you kind of set out originally to do some of these things for her. Explain to me the very first kind of iteration of Gabby and what it was designed to go out and do.
So the first version we built was specifically to solve one problem my wife was having. Now, at the time, the market was really hot. The properties were going off the shelf like really fast. And she was doing a lot of showings. Now, at the time, we, in some markets, people don't use showing time to schedule showings. In the private remarks, it would say things like, hey, text this number, or, call the agent to kind of schedule a showing, right? So that is one of the things that takes the most time. So she was just like, man, I spent so many hours just reaching out to other agents so that I can show their properties. It takes, a couple hours a day. How can we automate that? So the first version that Gabby was, a sort of scheduler, and what it allowed to do is allowed Elise, my wife, to add a bunch of MLS numbers, add the date and time, and Gabby would go out and start reaching out to all the listing agents and say, hey, Bob, I want to show your property 123 Main Street at 4:00. Is it available? And you would say yes. Now, we didn't have information if the property was available or not, right? So that was the first thing, find out if it's available. And then if it was, then schedule it. And it was smart to be able to schedule and route and figure out all the right times to start. Like if you're showing 10 homes, it would start at this one and kind of work itself. So that was the first piece. And we were able to do that. And she saved tons of times and was able to help more customers much faster.
So these kind of like, as an AI assistant, I think like on my website, right? People coming in and asking, general questions that the bot is trained to know those answers based on, who I am and what I provide. What, like, call something out in here that is beyond maybe efficient appointment scheduling, because we know that Elise saved a bunch of time in that. Where else do you see like big time savings for people here?
Or like lead generate, like ISA type of activity. So anything that maybe an ISA to like reach out to customers right away, ask if they need any information. So, lead warming and lead nurturing is sort of one of the other pieces that,
So we're going to show some of that here in a little bit, right? We're going to show an example of our current version of the Gabby AI having a conversation, I think, Roberto, with an actual lead. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. And like data collection for understanding, or for client understanding, you can actually, so like the bot or the AI, her name's Gabby, I guess we'll just call her Gabby. Gabby is being trained. Like we can train her on a lot of different things, right? So one of the things that we're doing is we're training her on like Ben Kinney's models scripts, the LP Mama script, right? We're having her watch, thousands of hours of video of our people going and doing presentations and talking about how we talk to leads. And like, we're trying to arm this thing with as much data as we can so that it can go out in that lead scenario, right? And ask the right question.
That's right. And I think this is where, like the AI is becoming very powerful and it's becoming everywhere, right? But where it's going to become even more powerful is when we start training it with our own data, with your own data, with your CRM data. That's really the focus that we're putting our energy into is how do we personalize the messages? How do we make sure that we're providing information, not only about the product, but also about how to do things in real estate. So it's like having a Bob, a virtual Bob with you, right? At all times.
Yeah, that sounds
with you.
That's you want a virtual Ben Kinney with you. Yeah, that's why we're training it on Ben's videos and not Bob's videos first anyway, right? All right. So predictive analytics. And look, I mean, in some way, Zillow's Zestimate, like, I don't know if you would have called it AI back when that thing came out. It's an algorithm, right? Yep. But this bucket tends to be something I don't think is being unleashed into residential real estate yet. But I think it would be pretty naive of us to sit here and think nobody's using this in the market today, right? Like, you would have to assume that the big boys, the Blackstones of the world or whatever, are out there, Roberto, like making decisions on their portfolio informed by AI data, right?
Yeah, like Zillow kind of did the first AI type of with a Zillow estimate, but it was a pretty basic model, right? But now they're probably arming it with like way more data because they're able to, train it and process the data much faster, right? So yeah, that's, like I said, some of this stuff has been around with some basic AI a couple of years ago, but now it's just becoming even more powerful because we're able to give it more data and able to process more. So it's able to kind of like see patterns of, across multiple data sets and different things.
Investment opportunities, risk mitigation. Again, these tend to be things that I think, as I read some of these words, are more applicable to like the long-term real estate investor or the real estate investor at scale, right?
Yeah.
Because one of the things I think that like this stuff doesn't account for when we're trying to go help a buyer or seller is the emotions of real estate. Right? Like, this is very just, it's the data, it is what it is. And, you going and sitting down with that seller, we have to account for other aspects of the emotional side of them buying or selling, right? It's not just about, hey, here's the data. When you start to think of institutional investors, there's not much emotion in those decisions that they're making. And so it makes sense that they're going to be the first ones to use this stuff, not to mention the fact that they have, a lot of capital to invest into a model like this that would help them figure out, predictive pricing for Orlando or someplace they were considering, dumping a bunch of money, right?
Yeah, and like I said, like some of the stuff, like some of the models, like like Tammy had a question, like comment, like the data is behind 100%. Not all data is real time, but we're getting to a real time, like life, right? Like, yeah, some of the data is behind, but there is a lot of improvements across all these companies that are working on with data to be able to provide the data in real time. So we'll get to that point where it becomes a little bit more real time. But obviously, like predicting and stuff, it's kind of hard to do. The market, you have to kind of like attach yourself to different data sets and not just real estate, right? Market condition, job type of data, what that local area is, any news in that specific that could be affecting jobs. So yeah, it's going to get there, but not. You're right. The data is behind.
Tammy, you have to think about like a Chat GPT model, right? The one we have access to, like the general public, I think it's like October 2021 or something is where it. But let's not. They have a model there that is up to date, right? They just don't unleash it to the public because it probably needs to be like vetted before, that they do that. The other thing I would say to that, Roberto, is the people using these models, refining them, and then putting them out as a product. For example, us, right? We have the ability to augment it with our own data. That's so right. For example, like one of the things, Tammy, that you'll see here in a minute, I think in our example, Roberto, is we can augment our AI with MLS data. And from the real estate perspective, that, we have that live data, we feed it to the AI. And so it can go out and it knows, Tammy, whether that house is for sale right now or not, because it can see into the MLS to see if it's pending or if it's active. So yes, some of the large language models that we have access to in the public are behind on their data. But a lot of these real specific type of models, like for example, the one we're building, we augment it with existing data that's current and up to date, like to today. So Smart comment, Tammy. Definitely consider that, right? Depending on which of these things you might be tapping into. Streamlined paperwork, Roberto. Look,
there's lots here.
Right. There's
one example could be, my wife, was selling a condo, and there was some condo docs, and sometimes these condo docs are like very large and stuff. And she usually hires a condo company to kind of, review the docs. We could feed condo docs to an AI and say, hey, summarize this and pick the most, like, what are the most concerning things about this condo? And then, as a, you obviously it's good to get a third party, like that's an expert, but you can kind of feed these documents and summarize and pick things that maybe are, that, you could tell your customer, right? So you as an agent are able to provide more information.
Love it. Love it. Storage, easy access and organization. I think about, like, and this is silly, but do everybody knows, like, you can go onto your iPhone and you can go search your photos for like any word, and it'll just go into your photos and literally find any photo that's ever had that word in it. Like, that saves me so much time going to find things, right? It's that easy access and organization. Like, think about you've been able to go into your database and just type in whatever the heck you want, and it just goes and finds that thing and pulls it up, right? I mean, we're just going to get more and more efficient with the storage, organization, and really the retrieval then of data.
Yeah.
All right. Virtual property tours, a more interactive experience for potential buyers, Roberto.
Yeah, there's, in the virtual property world, there's, like, this is more falls into the image kind of AI, and obviously virtual properties is one where, it's getting to a point where I could actually take a couple pictures of this room that I'm in, and it's able to create a video just from like 3 pictures. Like that's kind of like, so it's going to start getting better and better. We're already seeing a bunch of product, and we'll show a couple of demos about companies that are doing like virtual staging, replacing, furniture, changing the style of the picture, rearranging the furniture. These kind of AI models, specifically in the virtual property tours type of space, are already here, and we're already seeing it. It's becoming, something that any agent can use, and you don't have to have a 3D designer or any of that to be able to create these things.
Yeah, again, in a minute here, we're going to show you guys a couple of different products, and I think one of them does a variety of those types of things, Roberto, that you were talking about.
Yeah,
right there. This last one, the immersive VR experience, like I'm waiting for the day when I can sit in my house, and look, the day is probably here already. It's just not totally commercially viable and available to anybody, right? But it's becoming every day more and more like I just want to sit in my house, put on some goggles, like, and then just start going, what if my walls were light blue? And, and just looking around my house and changing things and going, and then literally I can see a day not too far in the future where I'm like, I want this, ooh, wow, that couch would look great in the corner there. And I just go buy the couch from my headset to house for 2 weeks or however long a couch takes to get to your house, right? Like that.
The technology is there for that. Yeah. The technology is there. The barrier is the headset, right? The hardware. It's still expensive. They're still haven't figure out some of the kinks. I know Apple just came out with coming up with their one, which seems to be pretty decent. But as the price goes down on that, then that will become a reality. But the technology to do what you're talking about, it's there. Like the software's there.
Yeah. Here we go. AI enhanced my CRM. Now we're starting to get to like, okay, here we go. Talk to me, Roberto. What kind of things are we going to expect here in the next, we're talking the next 3 months or 6 months or maybe a year, where a lot of these things are going to come to life inside of real estate CRMs.
Yeah. So, and we're starting to see this in other CRMs too, like, this AI generative, what we're calling. But in our world, the whole goal is like, how do we help the agent and our customers, be able to, reply faster, get, customers real-time information. And really, in order to make these things and models and AI, to be able to do something for you, we need to train it with like your data to make it personalized for that specific lead, right? So, we'll be able to learn the lead, how the lead communicates and communicate back to their same personality. Some of the things that we're doing is, more around the content space, which is like help you write connectivity or improve my writing. So that's one of the tools that we'll show. Another tool is more of like an ISA AI, which it's like AI bots, but a little bit more custom, more personalized with access to real-time data. It feels and acts like a human. So that's more on the ISA space. But yeah, this is why it's important. Call summarization is one thing, be able to summarize calls. Who should we talk to? There's just tons of like small pieces in your CRM where we're going to be able to embed AI just to kind of help you do.
Janice, I love her. Well, I appreciate her comment here. She said, for me, the challenge on what to provide to the AI to reflect my personality. Roberto, the very first time, like you sent me, you responded, I don't remember if it was to an email or a text to me at one point, and it was very like chipper.
It was a little more
yeah, it wasn't you, and I'm like, I think I responded. I said, like, what AI tool do you use? You should tell it to like be more like you, more like your personality or something like that. And then you responded back with something that was a little bit more Roberto. And I think you maybe even sent me a screenshot where you'd done the prompt and you were like, make it a little less cheery or something like that. But Janice, we can tell it how to act, right? So sometimes I'll see Roberto tell it to make it funny or to make it downtrodden or to make it direct or to make it. So Janice, I don't know what your personality is, but sometimes simply adding to the prompt something of that nature. But here's really what I want to say on that, Janice. I believe that right now today, now we're going to go show you guys a bunch of tools here in just a second that you can go use in your business. But I think the overarching thing that you want to start doing and taking action on with AI today is learning how to prompt these things. Like learning, and I'll give you an example. The first time I ever used Chat GPT, literally the very first thing I ever typed into it was make me a real estate website. And I don't even remember why, Roberto. I went there and I'm like, I've been hearing how awesome this is. Like, make me, and it basically said, no, I can't do that. And it gave me a really long explanation about why, but it's like, it's complex depending on where you're at and all this stuff. And so then I'm like, okay, create for me the homepage of a real estate website, assuming I was a real estate agent in Seattle working with the Windermere brokerage. And I wanted my homepage to highlight the fact that I specialize in downtown Seattle condos. And it created, Roberto, like the HTML for a homepage for me. It spit it out. And then the last thing it said was, you're going to need CSS styling to really make it. So I'm like, okay, create me the CSS styling. And what I quickly learned, like my first time using Chat GPT is, wow, I'm a novice at how to ask this thing to do the thing, because had I just stopped on that first ask, right, you have to learn how to prompt these things.
Yeah, and one of the things that we'll start seeing, and a lot of these tools that we'll show are powered by, maybe the Chat GPT model, or maybe an open source model, or cloud, or one of these other models. There's lots of models out there. We talk about Chat GPT just because that was the one that most people know, right? But there are other Chat GPT of models. Now, what you're going to start seeing is, where prompting doesn't become as important, because that's kind of already part of that tool, right? And when we show you some examples of what we're doing in the CRM, with the help me write, we're creating prompts for people already to kind of have a starting point, right? So that which makes it even easier. So you'll start seeing more of that as across different tools that you use, not just your CRM, but Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. You'll start seeing some of these things start to show up.
Target marketing
is AI. Yeah.
So Roberto, we do on the targeted marketing side, we're already using some of these tools, right? Like for example, inside of our Brivity marketer tool, we have a direct mail option, right? You can send postcards out of there, and one of the options we have in there is for you to use our algorithm, right? Our assisted AI to go find the right houses to market to. Like for example, if you were sending a just sold postcard out and you went and picked the neighborhood you wanted to send it to, our AI is going to say, hey, don't send it to that. We're not going to send it to this house 3 doors down because they just bought their house 3 months ago and they're in like couches and curtains mode. They're not going to be thinking about buying or selling anytime soon. Let's put your postcard at the house 10 doors down where that person's lived there for 10 years. They got lots of equity in their house, right? We're already seeing some of this targeted marketing. We have a thing at Brivity called Brivity Connect. And part of Brivity Connect is this idea that we retarget people that are in your database who've looked at a certain house. So somebody comes in to your website, right? We're driving maybe a listing alert out to them for properties in Bellingham, right? And they start looking, Roberto, at properties at, let's say, $500,000 in Bellingham. We know, right? And we can start now that the AI can start to create ads and follow them around the Facebook environment or Google PPC, giving them ads for $500,000 houses in Bellingham. So this stuff, we're already using it. It will get even better, right? Our ability to predictively market to the right person at the right time.
With the right message. So that's really where AI is going to start coming in more hand, is like, yeah, target marketing is one thing. It's been around for some time, but it's easily accessible for everybody. And then now we're having personalized target marketing, which is, yeah, Bob just went to my website, looked at properties under 500, and guess what? I send them a postcard with maybe there's some listings, or maybe not listings, but maybe some information about what he was looking for on my website, right? So as we start plugging in different data, we're able to do much more, right?
Janice, I will promise that we will call you. All right. Smart property recommendations, right, Roberto? This is this extension of what we were just talking about, right? We get in there and the AI says
listing alert is sort of the base of it. Now we're adding a little bit of some AI models and more algorithms, not necessarily AI models, but more algorithms that are powered by AI. And, it's just going to become better and more personalized. We'll be able to send properties that are, maybe the customer didn't think they would be interested in, and maybe they, and it turns out they are.
Yeah, like I think, hey, I've got them set up on a home search in Bellingham between 500,000 and 600,000, and all of a sudden a property comes for sale at 499.9 that would not have been in that alert, but the AI goes, hey, you know what? This one's actually pretty darn close. Let's just show it to them anyways, even though I realize it's $1,000 outside of the bracket, right?
Or maybe there's a property that it's a little bit less. The customer maybe wants very specific things, but the bones of the house is really good. And we're able to tell the customers like, hey, there's this house. It's a fixer upper. It needs a little bit of work. It needs a new paint and a new roof. But if we do that, then we hit what you want, kind of thing, right? So it's able to use algorithms to determine like, okay, this house needs this work by looking at pictures, by looking at the description, what kind of work does it need? How much does that work usually cost in that area? And then we're able to predict and say, hey, that might be a really good house for you. It might require like $10,000 worth of work, but it'll get you what you want, kind of thing.
Love that. Love that. Automated property valuations. Again, back to the Zillow model. These are just getting, I think, more refined, right? We're able to do these like our home value page inside of Brivity. We leverage the Zillow model. We also leverage a model from a place called Home Junction, and then we use AI to go crunch a model from the data from your MLS, assuming that your MLS allows us to see the sold data, which most of them these days do. But it allows me to be a little bit better helping that customer understand what their house is worth before, Janice, I need to go in and do what we still believe today is the work of the agent is to actual price, given all the other factors of emotion and things that have traditionally been hard for data to understand, like, does it have a view, or over time, the more data, right, the more these valuation models will become closer to what an agent would show up in their CMA with, Roberto. But again, you still have that emotional element that I think we're a long ways away from AI solving.
Yeah, that's the key. I think it's emotional, the meeting of the person, the getting to understand. Everybody has a different story, right? And I think AI is a little bit won't be able to solve that, but
Which is fine and good. We believe the agent is the person best suited to solve that. And so these are tools that, like everything we're talking about here, right, is designed to give you guys a little bit more time so that you can have more of those conversations that need to be had with buyers and sellers ultimately. Lead scoring, I love this idea. I mean, this could potentially kind of be wrapped up in your AI enhanced CRM concept, right? But this idea that, like, you know, there's a time really close on the horizon in Brivity where you'll be able to go in there and say, I only got time for 5 phone calls today. Who should I call? Right. And it's going to go and say, well, based on the activity and the last time you talked to certain people and what the notes were from when you last talked to them, we think these 5 would be the most engaged people for you to give a call to today.
And not even that, if you have like an like a AI that's kind of like lead nurturing, like an ISA lead nurture type of an AI, it can use that scoring to figure out, okay, to be able to communicate with that lead, right? So if that lead is looking at a property, let's say in Bellingham, and, you know, I'm a really busy agent and I didn't see that right away, you know, Gabby in our case is going to know that and might send that lead a text saying, hey, Roberto, I just found this property that I think you might be interested in, right? So it's able to then take that information about that customer and do something with it, right? Or tell the agent to do something, you know, in a more real time.
Love it. All right, so we're gonna bang through, I don't know how many are in here, 7 or 8 or 9 tools that I mean, you could go and start to use today. Not there's a couple inside of Brivity that is beta access. So and then there's a few that just, the first one, Chat GPT, right? And we've all heard about this.
I've heard about it. There's other tools out there. There's other Chat GPT like type of things. There are, you know, some better models out there for different cases. I would say some of these tools are better at doing certain things, and some of them are doing other things. So
I used this recently. We were at Place, Ben's partners. We were redoing a couple of our big auto plans. One of them was around getting people inside of our own database to raise their hand and request a home valuation. And so I had written a series of couple emails, Roberto, couple text messages, and I'd written them, right? And you know, I've been doing this a while. Like, I feel like I'm a decent writer, and but I'm not the best in the world, and ChatGPT has consumed all of the best writers in the world, right? Let me take what I wrote and put it in there. And I put it in there. I said, hey, here's a sequence of 8 texts and emails that I was planning to send. I make them better is essentially the first prompt I gave it, and it made them better but longer. And so I had to go back and I said, okay, here's what I'd like. Do me a favor, make these more efficient, but keep them a similar length. Sure enough, it spit out for me each one of the emails and texts that I'd written better. Like, it was better, Roberto. I'll just admit it. I've written something recently for our upcoming Built How event. It was like a 10 reasons why I love Built How. And our team took it, and when they got it back to me, I'm like, wow, this is really good. Like, Mikey, shout out to whoever improved this for me. And she's like, shout out Chat GPT. And I'm like, okay, there you go, right? So you can use this to have it do something for you that you don't want to do at all. Or you could take what you have written and you know, I think of property descriptions. I know there's a lot of people out there maybe irritated by agents who are using these for property descriptions, but I don't think it's like, just Roberto, just, you know, here's the old property description that the last agent wrote, fix it. I mean, I think it's maybe write something and then have Chat GPT enhance it potentially.
Yeah, so that's one of the most use cases, I would say, is you know, if you're an agent, you already know what you're kind of talking about, what you're doing, right? You might not be the best, maybe you're, you know, not the best writer, or you maybe need to improve the writing, or, you know, add something, you know, creative in there. Then that's how you can kind of use these kind of tools, or, you know, Chat GPT. But you know, you don't have to use Chat GPT, because a lot of these tools like Brivity is kind of embedding a lot of these AI into their CRMs, you know, so that, you know, you don't have to go pay for a bunch of different tools, right? Our goal is to bring a lot of this stuff inside of Brivity, and also be very catered to your data, real estate data. So it's very focused on real estate.
All right. So Gabby, help me write. So this is something that we have. Roberto, are you going to take the screen for a second here and show me an example or something of this? All right. So let me back off of sharing my screen here. Why don't you grab the screen here for Gabby, help me write. So Philip, he said, I think it's supposed to be coming to Brivity. So this is one of the tools that we're building in there right now. We've got a couple of accounts. You can actually see, like, he's live inside of one of Ben's place partners, who is this Scott Pinella over there in Louisville, Kentucky. So
yeah, so and I kind of just did it here just to kind of speed it up. So in this case, Gabby nurtured this lead. It was a lead that came in. Gabby nurtured it to the point that they, they want to talk to an agent, or they want to be able to schedule a showing, right? So we have now across, and you'll start seeing this pop up if you're a CRM customer, help me write. And the help me write was going to have, different prompts, right? So we have this, what do you want to do? You want to propose a meeting? Is it a personal touch? And this kind of gives you that starting point. Now, in the example that I'm going to show here, I said, hey, I want to schedule a proposal meeting for properties that we will show, right? So I just kind of that's all I did. Now, I didn't give it more. Like, if I gave it the date and time and the location, it would put that in this message. But just to kind of show quickly here is like, hey, dear, Clintona, I hope it's finding you well. I want to reach out and propose a meeting to discuss the properties we'll be showing you. As a dedicated realtor, is important for me to understand your preference, blah, blah, blah. And then it kind of suggested a time, let's suggest a time. Now, keep in mind, I didn't add this information, right? Now, if I was to say, let's make the time, 6 p.m. on Friday. If I was to do that, then it's going to take this initial message here, and it's going to rewrite it. So I basically told AI the AI gave me this email, and then I told it to improve it. And there it is. Now it updated. How about, and I'll show you here, how about we meet at 6 p.m. on Friday, right? So you can kind of see how this can kind of help you kind of write, much faster, and kind of much cleaner, that kind of thing. We'll have an option to change the tone of this. So if you want to make it funny or professional or direct, you'll have a little setting in here. It's not there yet, where you'll be able to change that tone. And in the future, we'll learn from your own emails and your own text, and then be able to write like you. So this is kind of like the help me write. This is kind of helps you write. We have a bunch of different things that can help you write. Maybe I want to do a personal touch.
Now you're in you're in the email setting here. And so the responses it's giving you are keyed up for email. But had you been in the text setting, then it would understand, okay, I'm not going to write a 4-paragraph text message, right? And the prompts or the responses it will give you would be more set up for a text message.
That's right. And the other thing that's very powerful is it's taking the lead information. So we're reading their name, what we last talked about, what they looked at in listings. So when you're using this tool, it's going to take everything about that lead, right, in the past, let's say a week, and it's going to be able to personalize it based on any conversation you might have had, right? So this is where, making sure you add notes to your system, making sure that they're on listing alerts and all this kind of stuff that we tell people to be on, is going to help kind of create more.
I think there's never been a better time. There's never been a time in real estate where it's more important to add a note to your CRM than where we are right now today, right? Like, given when you think about like this Gabby AI or the Gabby ISA, which we're going to show you in just a minute, you think about this help me write stuff. Like, the more we know, the more the more that's in here, the more leverage that thing is going to have to go out and suggest the next best thing you should say to them, right?
That's right. Now, this is now help me write is usually for, you're kind of looking for ideas. You don't really know, what to follow up with, that kind of thing. This is going to get smarter and smarter. So it might just, prompt you like, hey, this is, I think, what you should send. Let's say it's on active customers. Let's say it's a lead that you're just kind of nurturing, and you had some time to go. It's going to say, hey, Scott Pinella Clintona, this is what you should send to them. They just looked at this property. Maybe you should send them this message. So it's going to get smarter and smarter with that. So that's help me write. The other one we have is more about improving, right? So, hey, you know, this is more for like when you already know what you're doing. So, you know, I'm going to go ahead and say Antona, you know, I'm going to type in a message and I'm going to spell it wrong just for fun. You know, my office. So let's say, you know, I do this and I already typed something, but I kind of want to clean it up, want to make it sound professional, want to format it better. You can kind of highlight the text and, oh, and it's not turned on this one. You can highlight the text and it'll help you improve it. Let me show you on the notes here. So if you highlight the text and I click improve, it's going to improve that text, right? Now, so there it is. It's going to start doing it. And once it improves the text, it's going to show you here, and then you'll be able to copy and paste. Now, let me try that again. I think this one is, I just turned it on this one here. So let's try again. It didn't actually finish the prompt. There we go. So now it's kind of like, you know, now this wasn't more of an email. You know, we're still tweaking this, but this should have been a summary, not a whole email, right? So I can say, you know, make it into a note. This would automatically happen, but in this case, you know, it kind of summarizes it a little bit better. But it takes all the information about the real estate agent, the team, to be able to craft these messages. So that's really powerful. Yeah, so those are help me write and, you know, improve my text or improve my writing. And that is across everywhere in the CRM that has the text box. So if you're working on auto plans, if you're working on, you know, text or emails or notes or call notes, it's going to kind of be able to, the little thing will pop up everywhere.
This
All
is
right.
this is a lead. This thing talking to a lead, Roberto. Is that what you have here?
Yeah, so this is talking to a lead. Let me just jump into another one here that it's maybe a little bit better, that just kind of shows. So I'm just going to jump into, you know, the messenger center here, right? So, and let me just, do this. I just want to show the lead part here. Okay, can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's let's look at this. So hi, Nora, I'm Gabby from Ben Kenny. I see you're interested in 432N North Street, Claire Crescent, or yeah, how can I assist?
Wow, 437 North St. Clair Circle, Roberto. Let me just let you spit that out for
you. Not Crescent, yeah, Circle, sorry. You know, I kind of started following up, and you know, we're looking for a rent a home, and you know, that's a smart strategy. So you can kind of see these messages are pretty good. Like they're you know, they're sounding a little bit more natural. They're also based on a playbook, which is a LP Mama playbook. But if this customer wanted to know, hey, can you tell me more about this property? It has access to MLS. So it would answer back with information. It will go request information to MLS, pull it back, and reply back to that customer inquiry. You know, so you can kind of see like this is just a natural conversation. And then, you know, kind of keeps going. And then it gets to the point where, you know, it's going to give the lead to, and let me see here. Sorry, my screen is a little.
To Bethany.
To Bethany. So now if I jump over to that conversation there, this is what ends up happening. And actually, we'll share my screen again here. Okay, cool. You can see my screen out here. Yeah. So you can kind of see that this is another conversation. It's, you know, responding back and forth. And then when Gabby feels like the customer wants to, like, hey, they're ready. It's a more nurtured lead. We have all the information we need. Gabby's going to go ahead and update the text. So it says Bethany, but this was Gabby, you know, is interested in 510 North Orlando and request pictures about the home. So kind of created a summary of the conversation, right? The conversation is already there that Gabby had, but it's also going to create a summary of it and action items that the agent needs to do, right? So when Bethany gets this, she can call this customer and just kind of like start, you know, based on wherever they left off to kind of like, you know, finish off or continue to nurture this thing. So this is kind of like a little bit of Gabby, how it interacts and how it works. I'm trying to see if I have another example here. I think this one's another example. You know, it's just, if we just like, we're not going to read all this, but you know, you can kind of see like, even in this case, this one started to be a little bit funny. It started annoying the customer. You know, I'm on a hunt for a dream farmhouse. They were looking for a farmhouse, right? Can you share your budget and preferences? You know, let's turn that dream farmhouse into reality. So we're tweaking the model and the message to try to like get them to engage. And in this case, it took a while before they said, hey, you know, in Middletown, right? And then they kind of responded back. And, you know, like I said, this is just kind of some demo accounts and some testing that we've been doing.
Wade said, when will this be available? So the stuff you're seeing, we have, Roberto, how many teams right now using Brivity are using Gabby's AI in our little beta environment here? Is it 12 or 15 or something?
12, yeah, about 12. 12. We're just improving it to, right now it's just handling new leads. We're just turning on the re-engagement one. And that's really where it's going to take the contact information, your notes, your SMS, your emails, and then be able to re-engage that lead with a personalized message.
Roberto, like I know that we hate doing this to the developers and to your teams and stuff, but like, give me a sense, like, are we talking, we're 4 weeks away from some of our Brivity folks having their hands on this? Are we just a couple weeks?
So the AI writer, that's, you know, that's going to be launched, I think, for our place partners within this week. And then shortly after that, we're going to launch it to our Brivity customers.
Got it. So we're just a couple weeks away from the Help Me Write stuff. We're probably 4 to 6 weeks away from, look, the stuff like Gabby AI, you guys, that is touching the consumer, there's risk involved there, right? We got to make sure that thing doesn't say the wrong thing, say something that's against the law, right? Like the fair housing, all this. So we're trying to feed as many conversations into this thing as we can and get a really good sense that it's not going to say something crazy. And so our founders, Ben and Chris here at Place and subsequently Brivity, they've got a couple of their partners using it on that client-facing, public-facing side to really try to mitigate the risk for when we roll it out to 5,000 Brivity teams. So just know we're pushing as hard as we can on this stuff. At the same time, like the things that, like to Help Me Write, you guys get to check what it says before it goes in theory, right? And so there's a little bit less risk involved there than there is this ISA out talking on your behalf. Because in the old models, Roberto, it used to be that we trained the thing to say what you know, so whatever question got asked, if it didn't have an answer trained for it to say that, it wouldn't answer. Today's models, you don't train it what to say. It's trained on a bunch of things it could say, but if they ask something it wasn't specifically trained on, it's going to try to answer that. And so putting the right guardrails in place to make sure everybody's legally protected, especially in our space where it's potentially litigious, is super important. And we're not going to get out in front of our skis on that just because it's cool. And we know it's going to make you guys more efficient converting leads. We still want to do it judiciously. So
yeah, a lot of the stuff is because these models that we're using were trained on the internet data, right? It's trained on like your competitor's website, on Zillow, on Redfin. It's trained on all these data sets, right? So our goal is to leverage the models, but to train it on your data with your CRM information, with your MLS information. So it doesn't go outside of, making sure that you're branded correctly, right? So it's always going to talk about you. It's never going to recommend somebody else, making sure that, it's going to recommend the mortgage broker that you work with. That's really a lot of the work that we're doing, is to make sure that it's controlled.
The very first day you put this in here, the Gabby AI thing, you were like, hey, it's up, go play with it. I basically forced it, and I was able to get it to do it, to suggest an agent in Bellingham other than Ben Kinney. I'm like, I don't know about that Ben Kinney guy. Is he really super good looking? And they're like, oh, we don't know. And I'm like, well, is there anybody better looking than Ben Kinney? And I was joking with it, right? But it did suggest somebody different to me, even though it was like Ben's assistant. So that's the kind of stuff we're putting these guardrails around. Let's go look. We got just a couple minutes left here, Roberto. Brivity Marketer. We've talked about a few of the AI tools in there. The the postcard direct mail marketing stuff where we match it up. There's some Facebook marketing tools in there that are leveraging Facebook's AI models to get your ads in front of the right people.
Like a lot of this stuff is going to be in there. You won't even realize it. Like, for instance, when you go create a Facebook ad, the description is going to sound way better than the description from the MLS, right? Because we're using the model to generate a better, more, captive message, right? So you'll start seeing a lot of AI stuff just kind of be embedded in different places where you might not even notice.
Get floor plan. So this is the one where you were talking about, I can take a few photos or take a flat 2D floor plan and turn it into a 3D guy?
Yeah, exactly. So this is like, it turns a image into like a, visual kind of a floor plan. So this is kind of really handy.
Getfloorplan.com. Reimagine home. This is AI to design either the inside or the outside of a home, right? I'm assuming this is also based off of photos, right? I'm taking a series of photos and loading it up and saying, hey, fix my gross front yard, right?
Yeah. Or add a pool, or, this is where you're taking an image and you're removing and adding different elements to that picture, right?
This is, people could in theory be using this for like virtual home staging, right? I've got a vacant property and I don't want to put it on the MLS as a vacant property, but the owners also don't want to pay the $1,200 to have it fully staged. I could come in and do this sort of thing.
Now, the beauty of this is like you can do this in instant, right? You don't need to go get a special person to do, like, yes, we've been doing this for many years, right? We have, people and VAs that do this, but the power is that you could just do this yourself, or an admin or an assistant can do that really easy without knowledge of 3D rendering and all this kind of picture.
Flicky, is this what you use to mock my voice? Flicky?
No, that's a different thing.
Right.
Flicky is more for like the people who do a lot of videos on YouTube and want to kind of convert their YouTube videos or their Instagram videos into like short videos. So what it does is like, it just allows you to generate a lot of videos based on your content. There, some like this tool here, I just looked at another tool, very similar, that's even better. So like, there's probably like, I see about 20 new products that are coming a day that do some of this stuff. So there's tons of companies out there that are overlapping on a lot of this stuff. These is just some example of things that you'll find. Opus
Clip. So this is somebody, our friend Chris Colgan probably uses something like this, right? He goes out, makes a YouTube video. And he's one of these agents that he's got a camera guy and his videos are good, but he could throw it into something like Opus Clip, and all of a sudden he's got his TikTok video, he's got his Instagram video, he's got 5 different shorts.
Yeah, this was what I was talking about. Sorry, the Flicky one, it just converts like your blog and your content into videos, but Opus Clip can also do that. So they kind of overlap in some of those things.
So here's our Gabby ISA. We dove in on that one. Roberto showed you some of the examples of it. It's tied into the MLS. Mid-Journey, what's this? An AI text to image generator.
Is like, it's not large language models. It's more like in the image creation. This allows you to create all sorts of different images. So it's a very powerful model that allows you to type what you want, and it's creating an image for you. And this could be used for like, blogging and social media, all sorts of different things. But you can kind of see an example here, the Loch Ness Monster swimming in the Hudson River near the George Washington Bridge. This image was completely generated by AI.
Crazy. Interior design, Kolov GPT, an interior design generator. What is this? I basically have a photo again, right? I put a photo in, I say, I want to redo this room, and it goes out and redoes the room.
Yeah, so that's kind of neat.
I just picked the style. I'm like, I want a farmhouse style. Man, some of this stuff is just unbelievable. Receptor AI extracts receipts.
Once again,
and invoices.
A lot of some of these tools, there's tons of them. This is just an example of like, what can it do? So like this takes in a receipt from your email and extracts it into like spreadsheet and stuff. So it's kind of
some of you guys, you're not having to do all that retrieval of your receipts come right before tax time, right? You've had this thing just grabbing all your receipts throughout the year and storing them wherever you want them stored. Love that. This is the last one I think on here, Brivity call recording and summarization. So this is another one that's on the verge of being inside of all of our CRMs here at Brivity. If you use your Brivity phone number and you're in a state that allows for this kind of thing, right? We're going to record every call that comes through there. There'll be like an ability for you to go in, see the entire transcript. You'll be able to click play to listen back to the transcript, and it will also then summarize that call. And think about this then. Now all that data will be in there from your phone call. You won't have to spend the even 3 to 5 minutes typing in the notes from your call, because it'll all be there. And it'll have that data to leverage when you go to send your next message to that person, because that entire previous phone conversation will be in there.
And the beauty of this one, which is this is sort of our phase one, and this one is being developed right now. Phase two is if you have a team and you want to like take your recordings and like, you know, compare them against like your playbook, it's going to help you for like coaching, right? So it's going to be able to take Bob's call with my mother and then be say like, hey, Bob, you said too many times. You didn't ask if they had a mortgage. You know, it's going to be able to do these kind of things. So that's more of a AI coaching, but it's going to take the call recording and summarization to be able to do that.
Man, that's going to be amazing. All right, here's the deal, you guys. If you're not a Brivity customer today and you're curious about some of what we have right now and what's right on the horizon, text platform, you've seen it at the bottom of almost every slide, but text platform to 59559. One of you guys earlier threw your phone number in there and said, hey, could somebody call me? That was our friend Janice. Janice, I have your phone number right here on my phone. I'm going to have somebody give you a call. Roberto, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Get back to work. We got a whole bunch of AI stuff that needs to get finished. We're out of here. You guys, we'll see you I don't know when the next time we'll see you. We have happy hour that's starting right now. If you're a Brivity client, jump into happy hour. Roberto, we got to get out of here. They're just waiting for us to start happy hour.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Bob.
Appreciate you, brother. Bye. Bye, everybody. You guys have a great week.